Hey everyone, this is Kapeleshh. I'm doing my biological engineering in IITMadras. I'm a third year undergraduate student. Okay, today we'll be discussing about uh, diffusion. So, where does diffusion happen and how does it happen? So, diffusion happens everywhere. You see, when you take population, high population, say in the city of Chennai, so people get diffused everywhere. Diffusion generally occurs from high concentration to low concentration. Here, when I said the city of Chennai, say you where there is a highly populated area and there is a lowly populated area. So people from highly populated area moves from high populated to low population. This is basically diffusion. This is diffusion which we see in real life. But today, here we are going to discuss about diffusion in skin. Where does diffusion happen in skin? In our own body. Say, when you're applying ointment, say face wash, ointment for your pimples. If you are a teenager, you'd know how pimples would feel. And obviously, most of you would have applied ointments for your pimples. So, oh, the big problem when you apply ointment for a pimple is you'll be applying it in the night time, and you do not want to disturb the ointment, and you want to sleep comfortably both at the same time. Okay, so let's dig a little bit deeper to it. See, when you apply ointment, it will get diffused into the skin, then it will reach the bloodstream. It will reach the capillaries. Of the skin is generally zero point 0.1 millimeter. So, for our ointment to be effective, the ointment must cross zero point 0.1 millimeter of the skin and reach. So, by the time taken by this is what we need to calculate. If you are calculating the time taken by this, say the time we get is say half an hour, say 30 minutes. So after 30 minutes, the ointment has completely diffused into our skin, and there is no use of an ointment anymore on your skin. So you can sleep comfortably. You can sleep in whatever position you want. So this was the basis of my project here. So I just want to derive a mathematical expression for concentration of the ointment on the skin. Here in the picture, you can see the structure of the skin. In this structure, the skin has three layers: epidermis, dermis, and hypodermis. Many things which are there in the skin, say hair follicle, sweat gland, there is a fat, there is connective tissues. So these are the things which will act as an obstruction here. So you can have a look at the picture once here to know the structure of the skin properly. And from here, we can jump on to our mathematical problem. Before we jump into the mathematical equations and all, we need to gather some background knowledge. That is, we need to know what is conservation of mass. And another thing is, for each and everything, there are some laws governing it. So for diffusion, there are majorly two laws. That is fixed first law of diffusion and fixed second law of diffusion. Okay, first let's talk about what is conservation of mass. In a body, in a non-nuclear process, mass is always conserved. That means mass can neither be destroyed nor be created. So this is conservation of mass. So by conservation of mass, as you can see in the screen, input plus generation minus output minus consumption equal to accumulation. For any process, this is valid. So this is what we call as conservation of mass. That means mass cannot be destroyed, neither be created. That is what, as we have discussed earlier. So coming to the fixed laws. So fixed laws is J star, which is flux, is equal to minus DAB dCA by dx. That is, DAB is diffusivity, whereas DAB is equal to dBA. That means the diffusion which occurs by transporting the particle from A to B, that is diffusivity, and dCA by dx is nothing but concentration gradient. So dCA by dx is concentration gradient. So this is fixed law. This is what we'll be using majorly. And there is equation of continuity which is derived from conservation of mass, law of conservation of mass. Okay, let us come to our major problem here. Our problem is, once we apply the ointment on the top of the skin, once the drug is administered on the top of the skin, which is epidermis layer, the drug has to pass through epidermis, then dermis, then hypodermis, and capillaries. Generally, what happens is each layer of the skin have different diffusivity. But here, to make the problem simpler, we are assuming everything as we are assuming a single homogeneous layer of skin with diffusivity D. So if the skin has diffusivity D, that means it just have to pass through one single layer to reach the bloodstream. That means it's just a one slab. If it passes through it, then it reaches the bloodstream. Okay, this is one assumption which we have taken, and the second assumption which we are taking for simplifying the problem is the administered drug concentration change is negligible. See, once you apply drug on your skin, it keeps on diffusing inside the skin so that the concentration on the surface varies continuously. But here, for simplicity, we are taking the concentration change is negligible. And we are also assuming that there is no accumulation of drug in the bloodstream. From the equation of continuity, as you can see that on the screen, the terms Vx, Vy, Vz will be equal to 0 because there is no bulk motion. And the terms d square Ca by dx square and d square Ca by dy square will also be equal to 0 because there is motion only in one direction, which is in z direction. And Ra will be equal to 0 because there is no reaction in the system. And the terms which are remaining is dCa by dt minus d square C by dz square. So this is what we are getting in equation of continuity. This is a second order differential equation. There are many methods to solve second order differential equations. The one method which I have adopted is assuming the concentration profile is a function of x and t. This differential equation is second order differential equation with two variables. So for solving this equation, we are assuming that c of x comma t is a function of x and t. That means f of x into g of t. So again, solving it with respect to or equating it with the equation which we got before from the equation of continuity, we will be getting the following equations. And from there, we can go on to solve as shown in the slide. We will be arriving at an expression for g of t and f of x. So this is basically what we are expecting. But still, there are some unsolved constants like c1 and c2 in f of x, whereas g of t is solved completely. So the f of x can be solved with boundary conditions. The boundary condition for the system is at x equal to 0, dou c by dou x is equal to 0 and c of L comma t is equal to 0. So this is one boundary condition which we have found because at x equal to 0 there is no velocity gradient, so the velocity gradient will be equal to 0 and the concentration profile also will be equal to 0. At t is equal to 0, which is the initial condition, c of L comma 0 will be, we are assuming it as c naught delta x. So with these boundary condition, when we solve, we will be arriving at this solution which is given here. So the final solution for this equation will be c of x comma t is equal to summation of n equal to 0 to infinity 2 by L c naught cos 2n plus 1 pi x by 2L into e power minus d 2n plus 1 pi by 2L square into t. So this will be the final equation. Okay, let's discuss what are the limitations of this project. So limitations of this project is the skin cannot be considered as a homogeneous layer because there are lots of things which need to be considered. Even though we consider skin as a three-layer system and have different diffusities D1, D2 and D3, still it will not give us an accurate answer because the skin has so many disturbances in between. See, there is hair follicles, there are sweat glands, so everything needs to be considered, which will lead to a very complex problem. So this is one limitation, and the other limitation is the change in concentration of drug on the skin. So we have considered that to be negligible, but when we consider, again, it will be very difficult to solve the problem. That's the end of the project. I hope we have arrived at some conclusion here. I sincerely thank Professor Mr. G.K. Suraish Kumar, who has given me this great opportunity to learn about this and to experiment on this or to explore on this. And I thank my friends, my peers, Mr. Rupak and Sai Monica on helping me with their valuable suggestions. Thank you very much for watching.